Give me just a second here.
I'm good.
Looking cute.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Let me get my light.
You
Hold on,
see me
YouTube's
okay?
coming on. Uh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Hi, welcome to What Are We Building This Week? Our podcast talking about what real people are actually building, not necessarily the professional real estate investors, but the average Joe. And we're talking about that because the cost of building a brand new home, even your dream home, is way cheaper than buying some ratty old 70-year-old home. And we need the
Right.
housing. So today we're talking to Kimberly Barnett, who is a friend of mine up in Los Angeles area. She just worked down here in San Diego too. But she's really great because she's both a professional real estate investor and a realtor helping families build intergenerational wealth. And so she's on the ground talking to real people about what they are doing. Kimberly, tell me about the projects you're working on and what you see families trying to do.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah.
Um, what I do is I have a company called Redemption Realty Services, and we basically help clients from a consulting standpoint because when you look at the term ADU, you have to really sit down and talk to people about what does that mean? Explain it to me, and then how do you go about doing it?
Hmm.
And what we do is we go in, sit down with our clients, talk to them about building this secondary unit on the back of their home. Oftentimes they've seen it, they want it, but they have no idea how to go about getting it. And then they have to deal with contractors, vendors, the city. It becomes so overwhelming to them that they back away.
Hmm.
When I met you and you and I started talking, you were the piece that I truly needed because financing is such the critical part.
Hmm.
And then most of the people I work in the South Los Angeles area, Inglewood area, um, most of them are mid to low income clients. They may
Hmm.
have owned the home for within the family 50 years potentially, but they've
Right.
never done anything with the property. So they need someone like Redemption Realty. I call ourselves we help people tap into the untapped power of their property. And I help them tap into that and figure out how can they, I said all holiday long, how can they give the gift that keeps on giving for their kids, their mother, their grandparents that may be living in the properties as well. And I kind of walk them through it and I don't leave until they get their certificate of occupancy.
I love it because that is so needed. Because it is daunting. Somebody, Whitney Hill at Snap ADU, I keep going back to what she said. She calls it stress equity,
It is. It
right?
truly is.
It's because it's
Bec-
very stressful. I'm not, you cannot deny that. And the construction is very stressful. But when you've got the dream team like you guys who to walk you through and the others in place, a good quality team, you can do it. And it's
I
100% worth it.
I partner with, I have a software system that it's the house software system. It allows me to create a budget. It allows me to give my clients online access to the progress of everything that's going on.
Hmm.
So I I require um, a part of my contract and requirements. I go out and get them bids for
Right.
the entire process. So each contractor, everybody, you just don't walk in the door and think, "Oh, this is a good job. I got this." No, you have to bid for this. And if the client, I have a client who she just fired her contractor a couple of years ago. And now she's ready to start this process all over again. But now she's very leery.
Hmm.
And I have to let her know, look, you pay me, I'm partnering with you. And as I bring contractors in here and we walk them through, they may give the perfect bid from a numbers standpoint. But if you don't like their personality, they're gone. We
Hmm.
go to the next one. So I have the ability to bring in as many contractors, as many vendors, as many people that would make my clients feel comfortable because
That's great.
it's all about the journey.
It is. And I so appreciate because you have the expertise. Like, I do not have expertise in construction. God help anybody. I'm like the lady who walks into the mechanics and they're like, "Oh, sweet. We can, totally take advantage of this woman." And $600 later, and they're like, "Would you like a car wash with that?" And I'm like, sure. I have no idea. Same thing with construction. And so you need those experts to say, yeah, this guy did a good job. You can look at the mitering, you can look at,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. So,
Well, I started out like you. Uh,
yeah,
the reason why I started this is because of all the projects that went wrong
yeah.
and how they played me because I was a female. But what they didn't know was I had a huge team behind me.
Hmm.
Um, my project manager is Charles. We call him Charles in charge
Yes.
because he walks
Charles is
around.
delightful. Yeah.
Yeah, he walks around with his military hat. Charles
Mm,
has very detailed military experience where he put planes together and took them down and
yeah.
had to find the missing parts and the missing pieces. Charles actually worked with my father years ago
Mm,
in construction stuff. So people, he's an elderly gentleman, and people kind of look at him and say, "Oh, he's a nice guy." But oh my God, when Charles in charge gets walks in the room and he asks, "Why did you do it that way?" No,
hmm.
that's not the right way. Why didn't you add this? No, take it down and do it right. Then
Right.
people start to respect
Hmm.
how we can really pull this whole process together. And
100%.
I think through that process, I developed very good relationships with the contractors that are out there that really want to do good.
Yeah, just right off the bat without having to be pushed. It's just pride in their work.
Hmm.
Um, I would love for you to tell the story of the gentleman we talked to. There was a home that his mother or grandmother owned. It's a great
Oh,
story. And I don't know what
yeah,
happened, but this is a great example of the untapped well. Oh, and let me go back. Let me just say, I so appreciate what you're saying that ADU clients aren't the rich. It's working and middle class people who are trying to get that extra income,
yeah,
not doing this is their side hustle, right?
yes, yes.
And these are in tough times, that's what you do. So tell the story about this gentleman.
And actually, that's a good lead into this story. I met a family who this property is in Venice,
Hmm.
um, beach
Really
area,
nice. Yeah.
very, very high class, high level area. This property has been in their family for close to 100 years.
Wow. Wow.
And as it was handed down, um, they took it very seriously what their great grandparents, when they purchased the land, when they purchased the property, they all took it very serious as to what it took to acquire the property.
Mhm.
And over the years, they've seen their neighbors, family, and friends just kind of sell off because big contractors are coming in and they're building these monstrosities all around them. I mean, $8 million properties all around them.
Mhm.
And they just assume that these people would just say, okay, I'll take the money and go. But no, they're not going anywhere.
Mhm.
And they figured out a way how to maintain the property by ADUs. Because now, when you're holding on to something for many years and you don't have the income to keep up with the maintenance on the property,
Especially an older home. Yeah.
it becomes a major, major liability for you.
Mhm.
So I shared with them when we first walked on the property, I said, I can't do anything in the back until we focus on the front first.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were very leery, don't want to touch the house, don't want to touch, there's no mortgage on the house, but they're very leery about getting loans.
Mm-hmm.
And so I introduced them to you because they they needed that, okay, we're in this together. And
Right.
let me put a shout out to you and your team.
Thank you.
Meredith is, I've known Meredith for many years. We recently met face to face, but when she's a part of your team, she jumps all in. It doesn't matter. And she makes sure that you have the best type of financing because anybody, you can get financing for ADUs. You're just going to pay through the nose. You're going to pay high interest rates. You just,
Right.
you know, and in a lot of these programs, you don't have to pay for them. You better think twice.
Right.
But
Yeah. They're going to get you
this,
one way or another.
they're going to get you one way or another. So they're pulling all of their resources together. They're pulling together as a
Good.
family to be able to present a package together.
Good.
The brother, the daughter, and the mother. And ultimately, what they want, they're going to be able to put four ADUs in the back. Mom's
Ooh,
going to be able to stay in one, and they may rent out the front house. Because I
yeah.
told them, I said, you can get top dollar if we do this front house the right way. And
Right.
mom will always have a place to stay for the rest of her life. And that's what the brother and the sister wants for their mother. They don't want to have to worry about mom. They just want to make sure that they keep the property. It becomes a income to them,
Yep.
and they can keep their great grandparents' legacy in the family.
You've turned it into an income property from a liability property. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. When I
Yeah.
tell you liability, woo, but they can
You
turn it around.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've told my story many times. I was a former Navy wife and we moved 13 times in 15 years and I bought,
Oh,
sold,
wow.
fixed, flips and I had two big mistakes to learn from. And one was buying land without building. Boy, what a money pit. And I still own that piece of property and I still can't sell it and I still can't build on it for a variety of reasons. It's just too much. And the other one is an old house. I thought, oh, I'll put my DIY skills to the test. Oh my gosh, I'll never do that again. So,
Yeah, I have a rule of thumb. I did this, because I do fix and flips as well.
yeah,
And I walked into a house that was built in 1909 or something like that.
yeah,
And I said day one, this is a tear down, but
yep,
I got talked into it being a fix and flip. And I
mm,
regretted it, regretted it, regretted it. I was grateful. The lady, the family that lived next door, they wanted an extension, so they wanted to buy it. So I gave them a good deal.
yeah.
I fixed it up. I gave them a good deal, and I bailed out of there. But they loved it because they combined the yards together, and it became kind of like a family
Oh, nice.
type
Yeah,
thing.
and don't get me wrong, like you and I agree, if you've got a great structure but bad cosmetics, that's the perfect fix and flips. Like you
Yeah,
want great bones with an avocado kitchen, right? From the 70s.
exactly,
That's the
exactly.
perfect house, right?
That's a perfect
Because
house.
little paint, new appliances, that kind of stuff. That's a great house, particularly as a first-time home buyer. My our first 4 years we bought a house and literally just about $15,000 over 4 years and elbow grease and taking classes at the Home Depot. I we doubled the value and sold it
Great.
for yeah. But
Yeah.
those are pretty rare. You've
Yeah.
got to have imagination and you got to watch a lot of HGTV kind of stuff. Um,
Oh, I was a HGTV pro
yeah,
until I had to pick up my first hammer and say, "Oh my God, okay,
right.
but we can do this." And we've had some pretty good wins
Good.
out here. But I became very passionate in helping people build ADUs because
Hmm.
my son came up. He works with us as well. I don't know. Oh yeah,
I
you've
met
met
him.
Josh.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He does all of the design, and he came up with Project 2028.
Nice.
2028 the Olympics is coming to Los
Oh,
Angeles,
right. Right.
and $12 billion is going to roll through the streets of Los Angeles.
Right.
And I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but my people, we miss out on a lot of that
Yeah.
because we don't know how to take that next step. And
100%.
And
Yeah.
in taking that next step, it's a simple process. And that's why I'm seriously on the mission of showing people how to untap the power of an ADU for them, their family, their generational wealth.
Hmm.
Um, and even in the process, you have enlightened me on some new programs that are out there, some grants to help them do the deferred maintenance on their property that they're living in while building the ADU in the back.
Right. Right. So I love what you're doing, and as part of having you here, I actually one of the big things I wanted to talk about today is you'll be thrilled to hear about Fannie Mae's new ADU loan guidelines. Fannie Mae is the big gorilla of the mortgage industry. It
Hmm.
sets the guidelines for the rest of the industry, but it does the vast majority of lending to everyday families, right?
Hmm.
Everyday
Yes,
homeowners, and particularly, first-time home buyers.
yes.
Fannie Mae is now allowing multiple ADUs on a property. And previously, it only allowed one ADU on any given property, not to exceed 4 units. So if you have a single family home, you can now build 3 ADUs, whatever is permittable.
To
If you have
get up to the 4 units.
Yes, up to the 4 units, which is fantastic news. And the other thing too is we're seeing the rise of prefabricated homes, and that could be, kind of the metal things and all that kind of stuff. But what we're also seeing is factory built walls. So imagine all the stick building you do in framing and walling. If you put those guys inside a factory where it's weatherproof, warm, whatever, you can have two guys build a series of walls, pre-plumb them, pre-wire them, everything, stack them up, deliver them to the site, and so on. Well, technically, that's a manufactured home as well. But manufactured homes are now, Fannie Mae is now recognizing and allowing manufactured homes as ADU, and they're allowed to pay the factory upfront 50%, which is pretty standard factory. I know, right? I
What?
know. Previously, a lot of factories were really struggling because they would only allow 10%, maybe 25% payment up front. And then you couldn't get
It's
the
hard.
rest of the money right. They had to float the cost, or the homeowner would have to float the cost, which is a lot of money out of pocket. The lender's like, nope, can't pay. Fannie Mae says no. Now it's 50% of the factory payment, which is pretty standard in the industry. And then the other 50% is paid when the unit is delivered and permanently affixed. In some cases, you have to get permits, which is why we're working on fast track permits so much. But at the least, it has to be permanently affixed. And people will like, well, why? Who cares? Because you can drive that stuff off. That's the
Yeah,
risk to the
yeah,
bank, right? Is
yeah,
you pick up a home and drive off with it, and there goes your secured asset, right? And that is a real issue. Um, so
yeah, that's
anyway,
true.
so I'm excited to see Fannie Mae catch up with those guidelines, because it's really going to help the average homeowner in both construction loans and post-construction loans, standard mortgages, because previously Fannie Mae would not finance any property with more than one ADU, which is crazy.
I am so excited that Fannie Mae is really looking at ADUs.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of a fix and flip right now for my personal self, and I partnered with a good friend as an investor.
Hmm.
And first thing I pitched was, I want to put an ADU in the backyard. Oh no, Kimmy, he calls me Kimmy. No, Kimmy, no. That's nothing more than adding a pool. Are you
What?
Are you crazy? He said the appraisers are saying there's no difference than adding a pool in the backyard. I said, I'm sorry. When did pools start paying rent? I don't
Okay.
get that, but he's a FHA
Yeah,
guy. So
I can tell
they
you why.
they don't know.
Because until June of this last year, ADUs were not allowed to be factored in the gross living area. ADUs in mortgage land for the last 80 years have been like a pool house, not a permanent residence. And so I regularly, even to this day, get $0 appraisals on ADUs. The guidelines just changed, and it says if the appraiser determines now if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and rents like a duck, call it a freaking duck. And the
Hmm.
best part is they now make it mandatory to do a market evaluation, which means you got to ask a realtor or do the thing like, geez, what would a buyer pay to have a renter on their property paying them 2,500 a month or 3,000 a month?
Hmm.
My buyers would pay a heck ton of money for a property like that because that's paying half their mortgage,
That's half the
right?
mortgage. Yeah.
So now previously that's why it's been so important that we maintained an ADU trained appraiser. We worked with the National Appraisal Institute beginning in 2019, but yeah, the appraisers are still coming around. But how dumb is that? So these loan guidelines, which are made back in Washington, D.C.,
Hmm.
really are only finally starting to catch up with what's happening, particularly
Yeah.
here in California. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And that's such a benefit because if your lender can't see it, they won't push it and you
Hmm.
don't get the benefit of it. You
Right,
just won't.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. What else are you seeing out there that people are doing or thinking about or concerned about?
I'm hearing a lot about the lot splits, splitting
Hmm.
the lot, selling off the ADUs. I know that some cities and some areas, they are frowning upon it,
Hmm.
but I haven't came across a client. I don't have a client as of yet who really wants to do lot splits, but I'm just hearing a lot of conversations about it. How can we make that work? How can convenient does that have to be? Does it have to be off of an alleyway or something like that? How does that going to look in the community of where we live?
Yeah, lot splits are tricky, and this is something we're actually talking about legislation this year. Um, the contractors and architects I work with, they're telling me do not do lot splits.
Hmm.
There's been very, very few lot splits in the state of California, and that's because what happens is you're basically paying the city to do the survey and do the work. Well, the city's going to work, or the municipality is going to go on their own sweet time, and they're going
Hmm.
to charge you like 40 to 50,000. That's where I know. That's where AB 1033 and the condotizations of ADUs have been so helpful because you can take the survey, create a one-page homeowners association with no meetings and no
Yeah.
dues. You just have a shared driveway maybe, and then submit it to the county recorder for about 1,500 bucks. That's what I'm being told, but we're trying to perfect that. But honestly, why are lot splits a problem? And I asked this question yesterday, I think at the Casita Coalition. Like, why can't we just have a surveyor, pay a surveyor, because it's a lot cheaper than paying the city, do the
Hmm.
survey, submit it to the city and say, doesn't this make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah, it does.
Hmm.
Lot split. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
I think it's the city sometimes make things so complicated that it discourages
Yep,
um, homeowners to move forward to do any of these positive things that they keep talking about. Um,
that's where your boldness is critical to be able to be like, nah, dude, we really can do this. The
yeah,
state says so.
yeah, and to be able to show people how it has been done.
Hmm.
So that's another big thing as well.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my phone keeps messing up. But
No worries.
yeah, it's the lot split that's the big conversation that's out there.
Hmm.
And I love the fact that now I can talk about 4 units, 4 ADUs in a backyard. Certain areas of Los Angeles, they sit on properties, the lot sizes are 8 to 10,000 square feet.
Whoa. Where are
Lit
those?
There's in South Los Angeles area, close to Compton area, believe it or not.
I believe
It,
it.
a lot of those areas had back in the day, they had horses, um, a lot of that stuff in their backyards.
Yeah.
So, and now you have communities that is being filled with RVs.
Mm,
So that's a very sad situation. But if you can show people, and I'm all about the educational side, doing town hall meetings, helping to show people how it can be done.
hmm
Um, I love a lot of these ADU companies do the tours and things like that. I don't
hmm
have enough ADUs under my belt to do tours, but they're open to allow some of my clients to come out and do some of the tours as well,
hmm
just to see for themselves.
Sure.
But yeah, I am looking forward to pushing a lot of education this year, a lot of examples of how it can be done,
hmm
and looking forward to 2028.
I love it. Where can people get information on these educational things and follow you and find out what's happening next?
Well, my website is www.redemptionre.com, and we are starting to post a lot of that stuff out there. And then, of course, I, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Of course, you can give me a call at my office. It's area code 323-365-0655. Um, my daughter is getting on me about changing up my personal versus business stuff, my cell
So
phones and stuff like
that's
that.
great. That's how it's they can personally call you there. That's great.
Yeah, but I do
Thank
have a service and stuff. But yes, my website, www.redemptionre.com.
That's right. Kimberly Barnett with Redemption Realty. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
I appreciate it. Have a great 2026.
I appreciate you too for all that you do. Thank you, Meredith. Talk to you soon.
Bye.